All right, so let's go ahead and predict the next year that's going to be coming. If you've been watching my YouTube channel, I have basically made a full year-long divination every December for like 4 or 5 years now, and they're extremely accurate. And I basically incorporated that into the tarot tapestry. I've taught how I do this in a bunch of different ways, but now I'm going to just teach you exactly how I do it here for the easiest, quickest reference. Now, this red tapestry right here, this is basically at the end. This is where we're leaving, and then the green one is where we're starting. So this would be 2024, and this would be 2025. So when you want to go ahead and you want to read the timeline, one of the things that you want to make sure is that you're reading the right year, right? So we're going to be reading 2025, so we start at 2025. Now, if you want to go ahead and you want to know what was the major takeaway of 2024, you would shuffle your cards. First ask, what was the major takeaway or the major lesson that I need to be carrying from 2024 into 2025, okay? And then you would pull your cards and pull whatever comes out there. So let's just pretend that I'm doing it. You're gonna see me do it in the next reading that I'm doing for 2025. But assuming that I'm like, okay, what is it that I need to personally carry from the end of 2024 into 2025? And I pull it out. Patience, being able to work diligently on what it is that I want, while also being more aligned with Antojai. Okay, this is the lesson that me, Axél, I have to carry moving forward on top of the reading that you're gonna go into. Okay, great. So now I want to start reading 2025. Shuffle the deck again. All right, now tell me what I can expect with the collective consciousness throughout 2025. I'll shuffle until the cards tell me to stop. And then what I like to do is I like to have like one major card, which is the full-on theme of the entire year. Okay, and usually I take that card and I put it over here to the side. You're gonna see me do that in the YouTube reading that I do. But this card is different on the YouTube reading. This is basically reading for me, right? Like on my own personal universe. The video that I posted on YouTube is basically for the collective and what the whole entire universe is going to be going through. So we have the entire universe that we work with as a collective consciousness, and then we have our own individual universes. So you can basically compare what it's saying to me in my personal universe versus the YouTube video, and then versus what it's telling you in your personal universe. So in the YouTube video, this is actually Agni, the fire energy. In my video, this is coming out as Merlin. So Merlin is the 11th chakra. Merlin is mastering more magic. So Agni is the number 1. So here we have 1 and 11. So for me, it's more about like aligning myself more with the power of my own spirit to get the end results that I'm looking for, right? So here I'm kind of looking at the main theme that's going to be happening for me. And then I go ahead, and if I feel like that's good enough, or if I want to keep shuffling, it doesn't matter. I tend to pull however many cards feel loose on the top. So for here, I'm going to pull 1, that's loose, 2, not really, and then I usually tend to pull the bottom one out and put that there, right? And I repeat this process on each one of these sectors because it's going to tell me a little bit more about each area. Since 2025 is the area of Artha, which is the Eye of Horus and Mother Earth energy, I'm going to be paying attention to these details right now more than ever in my unconscious and in my environment, because Earth energy is the environment, that's Earth, and then the Eye of Horus is your unconscious mind, so things that you're doing without fully realizing it, or maybe you have realized that you're doing these things and it's becoming kind of like very difficult for you to navigate, right? So for me, on this end, it's saying, okay, look at smoke and mirrors, another 11. I use Antojai language 11. So for me, when 11 starts showing up, it's just a confirmation of what's happening. Like yesterday, I was in a session with one of my gurus, and he was reading my energy, and he was like, oh, you have all your first 11 bodies all turned on at the same time. And he doesn't really know what I do. He just helps me navigate through certain things. So here I'm starting to see 11, 11, and I'm starting to get like this repetition. Look at the veil and use your powers to overcome the veil. And then here is the Eye of Ra, which the Eye of Ra is another energy of family, which when we do the tarot for the collective, it echoes again to family over here. And you're going to see like my personal reading is literally imitating the same reading that I did for the collective, talking about focusing on the family sector. So if I wanted to, I'm going to spread out all the cards over here. And then when I get over here, I'm going to re-reference this point. Then we have the energy of the Magician here. The Magician basically stating, you know, you really need to step more into your own power, using your magic for the highest good. Magician being Asteros, Magician being Merlin, one with that energy of Agni. So as you start kind of like seeing repetitions when you read your own personal universe. Now, if I also look at the Magician card, you always want to look for like the similarities in signs. So here we have that energy of the spiral. The spiral is over here. So basically, the spiral is telling me you need to focus on your dharma, which by focusing on my dharma will come more money, will come more powers of existence, and you start getting a little bit of a deeper understanding as to what's going on. So then from here, again, shuffling the cards, and it's going to change. It doesn't always have to be 3 cards in every sector. So here I feel 1, 2. This is kind of like stuck. It doesn't want to move. So I'm going to pull a 3rd because I feel like that. And I feel like pulling a 4th here. So this is all energy for there. I can then continue to pull if I feel inspired. I do feel inspired to pull here. I don't feel like pulling. Yeah, just this one over here. That's all I have. This one goes here. Tells me to flip it. Go like that. Go like that. Tells me to put this one here. Shuffle. This one flew out, so I'm going to put it there. The whole deck is stuck, so it's telling me again, shuffle for the next one. So as you notice, like I have a communication with my deck, okay? And I can feel when the cards are really strong or when they're not. This one kind of wants to be there. I'm going to put that there. This one also wants to be here. Then if I go over here, that's not stuck. Oops. These flew out, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have these 3 there, and I feel like these 2 bottom ones want to be there as well. I'm going to make sure they go like this. And then finally, I'm being told to pull out 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now, this is me just reading for myself. I lined it up so like I'm starting here for 2025. I'm reading each individual sector, which is going to tell me about what I need to do to transcend, what I need to do to embody my dharma and make more money, how I become more free, how I impact my health and become more pleasurable in my life, and how to enhance my environment. If I can manage to master all of these, this end goal is going to be what ends up happening and the thing that I need to pay attention to the most, right? So then I can start breaking it down. Remember how over here it was talking about dharma, right? With this symbol right here, dharma. So assuming that I'm just using it as a token here, and what I'll do is I'll put a little coin there to kind of like highlight it. Here, if I'm reading this, in order for my artha, my environmental prosperity, to match up with my dharmic money prosperity over here, you see how they're directly across from each other? I'm going to read this. So then when I read it, the first card that comes out is the Black Sun. This is the energy of war. This is very much so the energy of Mars, which is the energy of 2025 when you end up watching the YouTube video. But this is right off the bat reminding me, okay, you're going to be at war. There's no time for you to fucking find any bullshit, Axel. You need to work for what it is that you want. With this energy of Amun Ra coming up and then kind of giving us another confirmation that it's only as difficult as you perceive it to be, and you already know what needs to be done to get the end result that you want. So it's not about like whether or not you should be asking a question, it's whether or not you're ready to do the work to get there. And that would be the energy of, again, the Magician, kind of like giving us that confirmation of what needs to be done. You see how I just read that? Now let's go ahead and do one more. We have the energy of the Eye of Ra. The Eye of Ra is over here on the tapestry, okay, which is associated to the family sector. So if I put this over here, and again, putting another like little holder here just to read it, I'll read all of these. So in order for me to overcome grief and disharmony, I need to basically overcome any level of malice or desire that is inauthentic. So that means I should definitely be looking at what I truly want for my family life, what I'm doing not to add harmony to the equation. Because in the YouTube video, it talks about this family sector has to be influenced by harmony, okay? So this is the main thing that I need to pay attention to. And then As you can see, we have the Star of David here. If I wanted to, I could then go ahead and pull out another card and place it there, and I'll show you what I'll do here instead because I already used all of my cards. I'll grab a secondary deck. What do you want me to know about malice? Malice is a powerful tool, but you need to have control over it, because if you don't have control over it, it's going to ruin you. Choose to walk away from that disappointment. Malice only brings you disappointment, right? Me as a person, personally, I can be really evil if you give me the reason to be, right? Like, as a shaman, you don't always have to be a good person. It's just case specific, you know what I mean? Like, you're not kind to everyone. So this is kind of almost reminding me, like, it's very easy to step into that energy of you know, the being malefic. So I need to have control over it and choose when the year brings me moments to be malefic, not to be malefic. Even though this whole entire year is going to be really powerful for black magic, try not to do things from that original standpoint or the old identity that I normally do stuff from, right? Which is totally cool. There's nothing wrong with that. So then we have the energy of fire coming up, vibration. Now, in the YouTube video, the energy of fire is Agni, which is controlling all of 2025, okay? So here I'm seeing, okay, my family life is going to be impacted most by the main energy of 2025 from the public tarot reading. So I need to just really focus on the vibration in my family. What is it that I'm creating? What am I vibrating, right? That vibration that I hold will transfer over to other people and other situations in my life. So then here we have the energy of peace and community. So during 2025, try to find a way to bring peace to everyone that's in the Antojai community. Try to find a way to really help them enhance their personal connections to community, even if it's not in the Antojai community, right? Your main goal is to focus on helping as many people as possible, which when you end up reading the year-long tarot, right, that I did for 2025, that's in alignment with this I Ching of basically a following, like helping as many people with your purpose. You're going to see the echoes happen. Finally, we have the energy of Papa Legba coming up, basically saying a gateway. So in the year-long tarot for 2025, the gateway actually happens here with Hathor. And then Kalfu and Papa Legba are a secondary gateway that you can explore. So here's basically telling you, like, if you focus on the enhancement of your family, so many other things are going to open up for you that are going to be next level. And that's how I basically read a year-long tarot. Now, the other thing you can do is, since this is basically starting the beginning of the year, you can basically say every 4 months is what you look at, right? And that's what I basically did on the first half of the 2025 tarot reading that I just did. So I read kind of like every quarter just to see the major lessons of each quarter, or I can walk through it by major life placements. So like what's happening in my dharma, what's happening in my environment, what's happening in my family, what's going to be happening with my patience and my knowledge, you know, stuff like that, my freedom. That's all going to tell me different aspects here of what I need to do. Now then in the center, like if I end up following through with everything that it's talking to me about, then here I'm going to be like, okay, well, I step into a very deep level of extreme power with the King of Cups, which the King of Cups actually comes up in the 2025 tarot that I just did. He ends up being over here in the first four months of 2025. So you start seeing a lot of different echoes, and then I'll be able to align extreme power from other dimensions if I follow through with what we're talking about. Now, I really just want to show you something else. Anytime you see any level of echo, you want to reference that echo. So over here, I have the Five of Cups, right? Remembering, like, I had asked a question about Lucifer. Basically, this aspect of family brought me over here, right? And not to be malefic, Five of Cups is here, but Five of Cups is here. Five of Cups is also one of the major energies at the end of the year of 2025 from the 2025 public reading. So then I start looking at these different connections, and I'm like, okay, well, if this was talking about not choosing to be malefic, then the thing that I need to understand is, like, I feel malefic most likely when I'm out of alignment with love, which makes sense. When you're not feeling love, you can feel hate. That's just how our brain works. That's with the Two of Cups. But then I also, like, when I feel disappointed, I can probably fall into a very malefic state. So here is like, I need to transcend a lack of love, and the shadow of disappointment itself, so that I don't step into that malefic energy and bring this energy into my family life, right? So you see how I'm kind of just like reading things back and forth, and how they echo with each other. So then the other thing that I end up doing is, when I watch the 2025 year long tarot, I make notes, right? Because I read it first and then I come back later and I make notes. The essence of idolescence or being lazy was actually one of the major lessons that we had to learn leaving 2024. So this card is basically echoing again in 2025, almost like halfway into the year, into 2025. And if I want to look at, okay, what's going to make me feel lazy and not actually like execute, well, it's the fact that maybe some of my wins may not seem as easy because I'm used to getting everything that I want very easily. And the distraction of love may also be something that brings me into alignment. Now, look at the art, okay? This is the other thing. Love, right? Kamadeva and Krishna are the gods of bliss and love, right? And they're shooting arrows in this direction, which this card has to do with love, okay? So you start kind of seeing how the cards really deeply start talking to you. Since this was associated in some aspect with malice and family, I need to be really focused on like using this information. We have 12, 12, 8, which this was also very similar to the 2025 public reading, which was 12 and 8 down here when we started looking at the end of 2024's lesson. And I start basically just like making all these connections and seeing, all right, this is what I need to do and this is how I need to impact my life and the life of other people. It's really cool to read your own personal universe and then track your personal universe month by month and by the general collective with the world's perspective, right? So here, an example of that is, if 2024's lesson was to form a new identity that doesn't let you be lazy for the collective consciousness, my lesson is to not only integrate that, but also be patient with the moves that I'm making and continue to focus on my shamanic energies. My identity is basically to be the most helpful, powerful shaman that I can be for the people that are looking for me. And again, if the energy that starts off in the public reading is Agni, right, that is on that green paper, is Agni, and mine is Merlin, then it's basically just reminding me like there's a lot of power in self-mastery and what you already know. So it's almost like telling me, don't sign up for more courses, don't sign up for more magic, master what you actually have right now, because you have everything that you need. Is you convincing yourself that you don't have everything that you need, Axel, right? So then I kind of start looking at all those details and I compare, and then I find what works. That gives me a very clear explanation as to what to expect from the collective consciousness and so on.